Hi, I'm Jason Bunn-Parsons, the Director of the Autism Ambassadors Board. My mom is with me today for this January meeting of my group that's held at Lutheran Church of the Master here in Phoenix, Arizona. And so anyways, yeah, my mom is looking over a psychiatric exam, evaluation, yes, that I had done back in 2018. April, not, okay, this is 2018, April 2015. Okay, anyways, yes, I'm, anyway, so the original topic of this group was, or of this meeting was to do an overview of what we're going to be discussing in the coming months throughout 2018, but some things have changed in recent weeks that I'm extremely excited about, and will definitely impact what we'll be doing in this meeting throughout 2018. And basically what happened is, after 8.5 years of being on SSDI, I finally got a job. And basically how this started was back in November. During the November meeting, we had a first-time visitor here, and prior to the start of the meeting, he told me about how he had just gotten a job working for a company called Peckham, okay, and they work exclusively with people with disabilities, and that they have offices in several states, and so anyways, and so he told me about this job in which we would be contracted out by the State Department to help people with passports. And so I went down there and put in the application and everything. And so that one of the things that they needed was proof that I had a disability. They needed documentation because, like I said, they work exclusively with people with a disability. And at that time, I did not have this document that my mom's now reading through. I didn't have my copy of it, even though it had been done in April of 2015. And looking on the front page, that it was received. When it was stamped received was on July 6th of 2015. Okay, so anyway, so I go down to Social Security to try to get my hands on this, and well, no, not actually Social Security, but to vocational rehabilitation, because that is who I went and saw in order to get this this assessment done back in 2015. The thing is, though, that there was, they told me that I couldn't actually have a physical copy of the original, but I could get a summation of it. It's like, okay, well, I want the summation, okay, and I never got it, and I tried to follow up on it a couple of times, and nothing came of it, and so I kind of gave up on it, and so then the week before Thanksgiving, the Monday before Thanksgiving, I'm down there and I'm telling them, okay, I need this documentation in order to be able to get a job, okay? And so basically I go down and I hold a vigil inside their lobby, because basically the people in Voc-Rehab are barricaded behind this wall. So I was tying up their lobby phone because they don't, I don't want to get too much into bashing them, but basically, I'm tying up their lobby phone because they won't just come out and talk to me in person. And so as I'm listening to what's going on in the background, I hear them say something about, the one guy telling the lady who's actually talking to me, well, we don't have a copy of that. And like I said, it was processed on July 15th. So yeah, somehow somebody in the bureaucracy completely fumbled, and I don't even understand what all went wrong, but the fact is they've had somebody in the bureaucracy received this back in July of 2015, and for some reason my Voc-Rehab office couldn't find it, even though it had been processed. But anyways, so that they told me that it might take a month, okay, in order to get it, because here I'm thinking, okay, they're going to have to contact this this psychologist and ask him to do a summation of somebody he might vaguely remember from 2.5 years earlier, and so I was like, no, this is ridiculous. So what I did is I wrote a letter to every member of the Arizona State Legislature, and I hand-delivered it, as well as to the governor's office of the state of Arizona, as well as the news media. And the news media does what they've always done, which is ignore it. They've been doing that since October 2010, when we formed the Autism Self-Advocacy Network, and we put out a press release that we were going to be protesting the Autism Speaks March, and they ignored it. And so this is just a constant pattern behavior by the news media of ignoring the grievances of the autism community. And so I wasn't surprised that the news media ignored it. Nevertheless, I did get the attention of 3 different politicians, and one of them actually got the job done within 2 hours of me having a phone conversation with her. And so that they said they were going to put it in the mail the next day. It actually showed up about 5 days later, but it did finally show up. And so I was able to go down to Peckham and produce the documentation. And so then they processed my application, and they said that they wanted to hire me on the Tuesday after Christmas. I believe it was December 27th. And so I was all ready to make a victory video to tell everybody the great news, until I read the bottom of the email that it was pending State Department approval, and that the State Department could decide to do a hiring freeze. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, but basically. And I was like, oh no, please don't, and so close yet so far. And so as much as I wanted to do this victory video right then and there, the last thing I wanted to do is to tell everybody, hey, great, I got a job, and then 2 weeks later, okay, I don't have the job because the State Department put on a hiring freeze. So anyways, but also, in the video, or at the end of that email, talking about State Department approval, and I had to fill out this application of trust. I forget the exact wording, but basically that they need to know if the public can trust me. And I understand, just imagine all the criminal activity that somebody working with passports can engage themselves in. Yes, the State Department wants to know if they can trust me. And so I figured that wasn't going to be a problem. And so, so I started filling it out, and it was, a bit emotionally frustrating for me when I got to the part about wanting my job history, because, like I've said in past videos, I didn't get diagnosed until I was 40 years old, so I had 20 years of vocational frustration, and the last thing I like to do is provide an itemized list of my failures, and whenever you're asking about my job history, that's basically what I'm doing for the most part, is providing you with an itemized list of my failures, which I don't really enjoy doing. If I'm going to be discussing them for the purpose of educating people, that's one thing, but just telling you, all the ways I failed for 20 years, so basically, what I had to do is, basically bounce around, answer question 1, question 15, question 4, I kind of bounced around, and I made it through it, okay, and eventually dealing with the whole, work history issue, towards the end. But one of the questions that I was afraid that was going to completely derail me was the question about my selective service number. Okay, in the United States, we're all required to register for the draft, even though we haven't had a draft since Vietnam. were required to register for the draft at the age of 18. Well, here's what happened with me. In the spring of 1987, during my junior year of high school, the end of my junior year of high school, I applied for early enrollment into the Army, okay, which would take effect, as soon as I graduated from high school. However, I was denied enlistment on the grounds of having an immature personality, which today we understand that they were picking up on my autism, which they didn't understand back then, okay? So, I go on, doing other stuff, and I never got around to actually registering for the draft, okay? And so here I am at the age of 48, well past the age of being drafted, okay? And how am I going to deal with this issue? Because, this could be a red flag for the State Department, wondering if I'm disloyal to my country and stuff like that. And so, anyway, so I start off with the nearest Army recruiter, explain my situation to them, okay, and how can I produce documentation that said that I did try to enlist in the Army, but I was declined, okay, in order to satisfy the State Department's any concerns they might have about me being disloyal, okay, because I did want to serve, and so they sent me to Voc-Rehab. Voc-Rehab sent me to MEPS, and MEPS basically told me that I should, just go ahead and register, online, and I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense to register for the draft years after I'm no longer eligible to be drafted. I think the maximum age is like 35 or something like that, and I'm registering at the age of 48. If I was the State Department, I wouldn't buy that argument, okay? So then I called my niece up, who has a clerical position. Well, she's a sergeant in the Arizona National Guard, to see what she would say, and she gave me the information for this center in St. Louis, in which the Army sends all their documentation to. Okay, so I get the phone number, I call them, and they don't have those records either. And they told me that I should contact my nearest recruiter. I'm like, I already tried that. That's how I started in the first place. So, on January the 9th, the day before I'm supposed to turn all this in, I go into Peckham and I'm explaining my situation and to the recruiter, and the receptionist at the desk asks if she can chime in real quick, and she asked me, have you ever registered to vote? I'm like, well, yeah. It's like, well, they automatically register you for the draft when you register to vote. And so we went to the Selective Service website, put in my social security number, and sure enough, I was given my Selective Service number in April of 1988. And so it's like, and anyway, and from that point on, it's been all good news since then. And like my mom says, every time I pick up the phone to call her, I have more good news on top of the good news that I already told you about, okay? And so, and it actually started later on the 9th, when as I said, I contacted the Arizona State Legislature and the governor's office in order to get assistance in getting this documentation, okay? And so, anyways, one of those politicians, took an interest in me and wanted to talk to me more about, some of the stuff that I brought up in the letter, as far as, basically, we could, help autistics out in a lot more cost-effective manner. But anyways, so I'm not going to name this politician for several reasons, not the least of which, back in 2015, I was a willing propaganda puppet of two politicians who didn't actually deliver much on anything. One did a little bit, but it really didn't amount to anything, and the other one flat out made promises to me that he didn't keep. And so I'm not going to be too quick to provide propaganda to this new politician who said all the right things, but we'll have to see. And so basically what I did is, going back to 2016, when I did the series of teachings on getting autistics jobs and public assistance. I did a series of teachings, and so I converted all those PowerPoints into a single outline that make it a lot easier for her to follow along. 17 pages, by the way. But I pointed her to a specific section, talking about the solutions that I have, for the for doing this. And I'm actually going to go into more detail about that in a little bit, because there's some more stuff that's going to tie into this before I get that far. So anyways, so after I turn in my application, or turn in my documentation or trust or whatever application in public trust, whatever it was, for the State Department, I then contacted the Beacon Group, and I forgot to mention, when I first put in my application to Peckham, they told me about the Beacon Group in their program Ticket to Work, okay? And basically it's a program through the State Department that allows me to continue to stay on SSDI for 9 months while I try out a new job. So that way, if it doesn't work out, I don't automatically lose my SSDI, and so it allows for a much smoother transition. So anyways, so I had talked to her on January 4th, and Melanie on January 4th, and they asked me if I needed special accommodations. They did not assume. Okay, that is the biggest problem that autistics have in terms of people allowing us to actually try to exceed their expectations, and try to get higher jobs, is that they assume, whenever, let's talk about autism job. Okay, here's all this special accommodations that they may need. Well, what about the autistics that were successful vocationally with no diagnosis and no special accommodations? Okay, that they just, that they're so, that they focus so much attention on how there's all these special accommodations that many of us might need, that they completely neglect the fact that many of us succeed without even a diagnosis or these special accommodations. And so basically what both Peckham and Beacon did is they didn't assume that I was going to need special accommodations. They asked, but they did not assume. And that opens far more doors for me, because now I'm not a liability to a potential employer. They're not going to be doing babysitting detail, okay? I am just as capable of being a productive employee if you give me the right job, and that is the key. Is all these people who had pre-diagnosis success, vocational success, that they chose the right career path. Sue Galbach, okay, she's a now retired occupational therapist, okay, who was doing that for 25 years prior to her getting her autism diagnosis. Okay, and so she didn't know about all these special accommodations that she could have asked for. She just simply succeeded at the job that she had because it was the perfect job for her in the first place. And so this is the mindset that the autism community just cannot grasp, but both Beacon and Peckham can. Okay, and so I actually left, the Beacon Group, from that first interview, very upbeat. Okay, going through Voc-Rehab in 2015, I was more like, okay, let's give them a chance. I know they're treating me like I'm a total imbecile, which I'm not. Okay, my mom can tell you that I'm not an imbecile. I have, at the very least, average intelligence, and she'll tell you way above average intelligence. Okay.
Way above mine.
Yeah, and so this idea that I should be treated like an imbecile because of my label that I didn't get until I was 40 years old, but nevertheless, my attitude's like, okay, let's give them a chance. Maybe at some point in time they'll actually send me in a direction, that's appropriate for somebody of my abilities, But finally, after 9 months and getting a new caseworker every other month, 4 different caseworkers in 9 months, and I said, this is ridiculous. I'm wasting the taxpayers' money by going through this program. I owe it to the taxpayers to not continue with it. That's literally my attitude with Voc-Rehab, that I owed it to the taxpayers not to waste any more of their money on Voc-Rehab. Peckham and Beacon, on the other hand, that it was completely different. Okay, so after, like I said, I turned in my letter of trust or application of trust to the State Department. Okay, I then called Melanie at Peckham, at Beacon Group, and discussed, okay, well, what kind of long-term goals are you, able to help me with? And so I had an appointment with her on Monday, and I left absolutely excited, okay, about the opportunities that she presented to me. Opportunities that in my opinion should be common knowledge amongst the autism community long before I ever got diagnosed. And basically what it is for is peer support, not technician, peer support. No, it's not in there. No, but peer support specialist. Okay. Yes, okay, and basically what this would allow me to do, and I want all the autistic self-advocates out there, to listen to me really carefully, because this is very important, okay? We're really frustrated about the fact that we have no say in what's going on. This is our road in to having a say, okay? And basically, the whole peer support, movement, I would assume would find its roots in the Oxford group, out of which Alcoholics Anonymous came, because Alcoholics Anonymous basically is a peer support group, okay? And so, but nevertheless, they're not professionals, okay? This is a professional peer support where you're given state certification to work professionally, with your fellow autistics in order to help them with various programs, okay? And so now combining this with what I discussed with the politician is that I have this idea for a 3-tier program to overhaul not just how you assist autistics, but overhauling the entire social services not network, infrastructure, I can't think of the right word right now, but the entire way the social services is done in the United States. And basically, it's a 3-tiered system, okay? Starting at the top, tier 1 is the person has the bachelor's degree on their way to getting a master's, because that is a requirement to be a caseworker, to work for Voc-Rehab and for all these other things. And the question is, how much of the specific issues that they deal with actually requires a master's degree? Okay. I can understand, that there are certain individuals that have some major issues that I don't have, behavioral issues, psychological issues, and stuff like that. I can understand, having, that kind of training, having somebody with that kind of training on hand in case major issues of that nature comes up. I can understand. Go ahead.
I know how it works with DSHS,
okay.
They call it in Washington.
Yeah.
Social services.
Okay, go ahead.
The master degree person is the one in charge of her specific group of people.
Right.
She's in charge. It's like a registered nurse in charge of an LPN. The LPN's in charge of the MAs. Yeah. But I have to go, So that's what the 4 years is for.
Yes, okay, and so anyway, so yes, there is a legitimate reason for hiring some people with a master's degree.
They don't need very many.
Yeah. But the thing is, does every single person need to have a master's degree
No.
in Voc-Rehab? And so that this leads to the tier 2, the peer support, the professional peer support is okay. One of the reasons why they have such turnover is because they go to school to get a master's degree in order to get a salary way more than the state is willing to pay. Okay, to be quite frank, that's the problem right there. Okay, and so looking at it, it's like, okay, well, how many of these issues can actually be done by a peer support specialist who has some certification but doesn't necessarily need to have the full range of teachings that of training in order to deal with major issues that most of their clients aren't dealing with, but simply going through all the options.
You have life experience.
Yeah, life experience, and just knowing what all the different programs are, such as the fact that these peer support training programs exist. Okay, nobody, because all throughout the process, I told them that ultimately I am first and foremost an autistic self-advocate. I want to work with other autistics and everything, and so when I was explaining this to Melanie at Beacon Group, it's like, have you tried this? And it's like, why haven't anybody else thought of this? Seriously, and that's the thing. There are so many programs out there, and it's. And the issue isn't whether or not you have a master's degree. The issue is how many of these programs are you aware of, okay? And can you hook your client up with the right program? And when you're talking about these people with these master's degrees that keep quitting on us after 2 months, no, actually I don't think most of them do know what all these options are, because they don't stick around long enough to find out what all these options are. Okay, and thus, bringing in the idea of the peer support specialist in order to be the main caseworker. Okay, I bet that if you'd be willing to pay them half of what these master degree employees would demand, they would be thrilled. Okay, so you're going to get less turnover, so they're going to stick around long enough to learn about their client and also learn about all the different programs that are out there to help the clients. And so I'm a firm believer that that this tier 2 would do so much at in order to help reduce not only make it more cost efficient, but more cost effective, but also more effective, period. Okay, and then the third tier, okay, it is basically smaller support groups. Okay, what I'd be referring to as tier 3 groups, and basically, just like a lot of churches have support groups for alcoholism, drug addiction, codependency, okay, is have these tier 3 groups, and it wouldn't just be churches, but churches, most of these meetings are actually held at churches, and so when it comes right down to it, it's not entirely inappropriate for me to single out churches when the majority of these meetings actually do occur at churches. But anyways, so is have special meetings, in which the idea is to help people who are wanting to basically get off of all social services, get out of poverty and off social services, no more food stamps, no more anything, which is what I want for myself, and a lot of people want as well, but unfortunately, a lot of them are trapped in life circumstances and they need that extra help. Okay, and this also helps, because the professional caseworker can't drop everything that they're doing if you have a major setback. Okay, whereas the support group, okay, you exchange numbers and you can get together, outside the meeting, and if you have you know, and you network together, and if somebody has a catastrophe, you can immediately call somebody in your network. Get a pep talk if that's what you need. Get some ideas about how you might, adjust your strategy. Stuff like that. And that's something that's quite frankly the professional can't do because their caseload simply doesn't make it possible for them to be readily available anytime their clients have a setback. Whereas the Tier 3 support group would have that ability to do that. And so this is what I propose to the to the politician in question, and she told me that she would talk to DDD, Department of Developmental Disability, and DS, Department of Economic Security, which she has no authority over, so she can't order them to talk to me, so she never promised that they would talk to me. She asked if I would be interested in talking to them and that she would see if she can make the arrangements. So, to be accurate with what has and has not been promised, nothing has in fact been promised. Only a single politician showing interest in my idea about these reforms and seeing if these department leaders would be interested in talking to me, and as of yet they still have not talked to me. As of January 9th is when I talked to her, and so which I'm not overly surprised. And so anyways, but as far as going back to the peer support training programs are out there. Okay, I forgot to bring that sheet with me. Now, basically, in the state of Arizona, there's, I believe, 16 different places to go for peer support training. Okay, of those, 2 of them down in Tucson. No, I'm not going to Tucson. 2-hour drive, each way to take a peer support training class. And another one's up in Prescott, which may be an hour drive, something like that. But anyways, but beyond that, there's plenty of them in the valley, and the lowest costing one is $400. Okay, and people might think that that's a little steep. The upper echelon is $5,600 and 17 college credits. Okay, another one is $1,700. But I also get to do an internship over at Ability 360. And so internship, college credits, I definitely have, things to definitely weigh out, but as far as doing the cheapie, okay, we'll give you enough to certify you and send you on down the road, it's like, you're going to get what you pay for. And the $5,600 one, okay, that's with a organization, Recovery International, and they have offices in several states, and so I at least have reason to believe, I would need to have this confirmed, of course, that my certificate would hold weight in these other states. So
through reciprocity, but you have to pay for licensure in each and every individual.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So yeah. My mom's also retired LPN, and so yeah, you did.
Reciprocity.
So yeah, all about that. That's you completed your schooling in Washington State, and then you moved here to Arizona, and you had to do the reciprocity.
Just apply for licensure in this state and pay whatever their fees are.
Right, and so anyways, whereas the $400 one, yeah, it may be valid in the state of Arizona, but if I go over to California,
no.
I'm not sure that they're going to buy into it, because California may have much higher standards than the state of Arizona. You definitely want to shop around, the different outfits that are willing to provide you with this training and what all the training covers. Okay, and also, one thing that's really telling to me is and the other one is, was it Hope for Living? Let me take a look at at the name of the other group here real quick. Come on, speed up, faster, faster, faster. Okay, let's see here. I need to zoom. I need to zoom or put on my glasses, one for the Hope lives via la Aspies, something, whatever Hope lives is in Spanish. Okay, so anyways, so both of these organizations, when I called to talk to the person there, they were excited to tell me about all the different things that they would be teaching me, all the different units that they would be having, where some of the other ones, like, yeah, it's $400, we'll start at such and such a time, and that's it. There was absolutely no enthusiasm by the person that's supposed to be selling me on their product of their product. And so that's so that really speaks well of me, to me, of them, and so whichever one I go through is besides the point. Okay, the point is that there are these places out there that will help you, get the certification that will allow autistics to work professionally with other autistics for a fraction of the cost that it would cost to get an associate's degree or bachelor's or master's, or for a fraction of the cost. Yes, you'll be limited in what you're authorized to do, but you'll be, which is better than us doing nothing. Other than complaining about the problem. Okay, so this is a first step to the solution that we autistic self-advocates have to the problem of us not being involved, is to go and get this certification that will allow us to work professionally with them in order to, in order that we can show ourselves and we can challenge the system from within. Okay, we can show that having that giving autistics the benefit of the doubt is going to lead to better results. Autistics who are going to get better paying jobs, who are going to be less likely to be on public assistance, who are less likely to require special amenities that are going to cost money. Okay, and special accommodations. Okay, it's not to say that all autistics can do that, but the ones that can, just give them the benefit of the doubt. See what they can do if you just let them try to do something that too many people are too quick to assume that we can't, because they're so focused on our deficits that they can't see anything but our deficits. And so this is why I'm so excited. Okay, and so I definitely, in talking about what I'm planning on doing at a future meeting, is I'm planning on talking about these, talking to these two particular organizations, and maybe call around to some others, because I've only called 6 of these organizations, and 2 of them haven't returned my call, so they obviously aren't that enthused about training people for anything if they're not going to return your call. So anyway, but yeah, and I definitely want to to have a meeting where these different peer support training programs can come and talk about their programs, and maybe even bring in some of their students for testimonials as far as how the training has helped them help others. And so that's going to definitely be a future topic. It'll definitely occur sometime after I finish the series on social skills, which might be another 2, 3, 4 months. It all depends, on how the dialogue goes, with those classes. But I'm really anxious to do this and to find out that these options, that, like I said, they should be common knowledge to the autism community, and the fact that it is not common knowledge, not only to them, but also to Voc-Rehab and to all these other places that I went to. You know, the fact that nobody knows about this option, you know, that speaks volumes about the attitudes that people have about autism, and how absolutely closed-minded that they are, that we can actually participate in society, that we can actually make society better. We're not just simply taking from society, but we can give back to society and make society better. Okay, and so this is definitely something that I'm going to be doing, and I am very excited about about all these new options, all these new openings that are available to me, throughout the year. So, Mom, would you like to say anything more?
No, I think you've said it all.
So
I can't think of a thing to add.
So, anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. At this time, there's nobody else here, to discuss things with. But definitely stay tuned, because and like I said, Google peer support training programs, okay, and find the different peer support training programs, to where you live. And find out what all they'll be teaching you to do. Are they going to give you the the full boat training, teaching about all kinds of stuff, or are they just going to give you enough to, and how much support are they, because also talk about helping you get a job in the professional community. That's one thing the Recovery International specifically said, is they would help me find a job working professionally with, with my degree. And so, versus the $400 program that's just going to get you your degree, pat you on the back, say, go get them, Tiger, And so, definitely shop around, find out what all, your money is going to pay for, and then go on from there, But I really believe that this is a major step forward in the advancement of autistic self-advocacy, is acknowledging that these programs exist and that we can enter these programs, and this can lead to us working professionally with our fellow autistics. So for about the 5th or 6th time, I bid you farewell. January 24th, 2018, and the video that you just watched was a recording that I did of my meeting the previous Saturday on the 20th, and it was motivated or guided more by my enthusiasm over the great news that I had, rather than actual preparation, due mainly to we actually had a different subject matter to discuss, an overview of what would be discussed throughout 2018, get people's input. But when my mom was the only person that showed up, I semi-spur the moment, because I was considering doing this anyways, but semi-spur the moment decided to swap up and do that. So as a result, there's a couple of points I want to elaborate on that I didn't fully address during the meeting. And first of all, pertains to Sue Golubach. Okay, as I said, she's a now retired occupational therapist who was also the co-organizer of the autism support group, Autistic Aspie support group, that I went to after I got diagnosed in 2009 in order to learn about autism. Okay, and as I said, she had 25 years of vocational success, as an occupational therapist before she got diagnosed at the age of 50, and then continued as an occupational therapist throughout that. So she was very successful at that, and I hold her up as the Phoenix autism community's gold standard because of her academic and professional achievements. Nevertheless, she's not the only autistic in Phoenix that has had success pre-diagnosis. So so no special accommodations either, okay? And that includes a school teacher who prior to that was a Air Force aircraft mechanic, okay? She used her GI Bill, from working on aircrafts for the Air Force to get her teaching certificate, and is now a school teacher, and she did not get her diagnosis until her 40s. I never actually asked her age, but she's definitely in my age bracket. We'll just leave it at that. But anyways, she's had success in 2 separate professions without a diagnosis or any special accommodations that come along with those with the diagnosis. Okay. And then an accountant for a nonprofit organization, and a tax preparer. Actually, it's one and the same person, which actually I should put a little asterisk by this, because the gentleman in question, okay, he's of retirement age, and he was actually diagnosed with childhood schizophrenia. Back when he was a kid or a teenager. I never got the full story on that, but bottom line is, if you understand the history of autism, which I elaborate on in a previous video, which you can find at www.AAC, that's Apple Charlie, AAC Phoenix, all spelled out, all one word, .com, and you'll have to scroll down a little bit because it was from February of last year, but you'll find the video where I talk about the history of autism and explain how we were diagnosed, those of us that did get the diagnosis was diagnosed with childhood schizophrenia, and so that's what he was diagnosed with, which is completely different from autism. But anyways, and a route driver who set up store displays, okay, and a medical insurance claims adjuster, okay. And in fact, this individual still does that to this day. He's been working for a healthcare company maybe 10, 12 years, something like that, maybe even longer. Yeah, he's been there for a long time. And so anyways, it's so and then so we have people who've had success with computers and engineering, and it's interesting that we've had a lot of people that have come to our group, particularly that have computer skills, who got the success, who made a decision not to bother to go to get an official diagnosis, because once they talked to other people who had the diagnosis, not only did they come to the conclusion completely on their own that they stood nothing to gain from getting an autism diagnosis, but the diagnosis in and of itself that became a liability for those who had it. Okay, and so for that reason, a lot of these individuals, they're self-diagnosed, who aren't bothering to go get official diagnosis for this reason. And this once again goes back to how the status quo way of dealing with autism is we only talk about the people that are struggling with these issues, and what second and third parties can do to intervene on our behalf. Okay, the people who have had pre-diagnosis success, whether it's in jobs or in other areas, social skills, and in other areas, they're not given the opportunity to speak. They're not given the opportunity to be a gold standard, for those autistics who want more, especially those who want to not self-disclose. Okay, and that's a major debate amongst autistics is, should I self-disclose or not? Well, okay, if you need to have special accommodations, if you absolutely have to have special accommodations, then you're not given a choice in the matter. You absolutely have to self-disclose, period, or you're not going to get the special accommodations. If you want to not self-disclose, you need to learn how to solve these problems without special accommodations, and the only way that you can achieve that is by listening to people who have had success in these areas
without the special accommodations because they didn't have a diagnosis beforehand. Okay, and so the complete omission from these autism conferences and from all these autism presentations of the people who have had this pre-diagnosis success means that we have to self-disclose, okay, whether we like it or not, because if we don't, then then we won't be able to get the special accommodations that we're convinced that we have no choice but to need. Okay, now as far as myself, I have quite a bit of success. Just a second here, my my computer here, mostly with volunteer activities, that if I knew what I know today, if I would have known back then what I knew today coming out of high school, okay, I would have pursued a professional career in one of these areas that I've had I've had volunteer success at, okay, and one is working with children with disabilities. Okay, I have a little sister, Kelly, with Down syndrome. Okay, and so not only was I a big brother to her and helping her out, like a big brother, but I also volunteered with the Wyoming Special Olympics at least 3 events that she participated in. Okay, and and then Parkway Elementary was the school that all children with developmental disabilities in the Mesa Public School District, Mesa, Arizona, USA, was bused to prior to integration. Okay, where these children were just sent to the regular schools, were given classes in the regular schools. But before then, in 1980, that change occurred in 1989. Okay, prior to that. No, the last year, well, that was the 89-90, the 1990-91 school year was the first year in which they were all integrated. Anyways, prior to that, they were all bused to this one school, and because I went to Mesa High School, and this school was right on the other side of the baseball diamond, they got a lot of volunteers from our high school to come and volunteer an hour a day, helping out with the children there. And so I did that for a year and a half. It's called the PIC, Participant in Community Program. Okay, and so I did that for a year and a half, and also children's ministry at for various churches. Puppeteer and ventriloquist, writer of skits and plays, both puppet and drama. I skipped, volunteering, helping out the refugee community. Okay, and not only helping out with a couple of children. One was an Ethiopian boy born with cerebral palsy, and a Sudanese girl who was probably a lower functioning autistic. I never asked them what the official diagnosis was, but based on what I know now about autism, it's very likely that that's what her diagnosis is, but I can't say definitively that that's what her actual diagnosis was. But anyway, so I've had all of this volunteer success, and the reason why I didn't do that, pursue that vocationally, is because when I graduated from high school, even though I scored 140 on the IQ test in 3rd grade, I graduated from high school with a 1.9 GPA. And so because the colleges, the teaching colleges wanted at least a 2.5, I thought that precluded me from being able to go into teaching. I find out years later that all I need to do is go to a community college, take my 2 best courses, ace them, and get a new GPA from there, that they would use that as the basis for enrolling me into a teaching school. And so again, all the things, if I would have known back then what I know today, things would have been completely different. But you know what? That's just the way it happened. But anyways, so So that's the first thing to clarify. And then the second thing to clarify is, talking about the peer support specialist training. Okay, and one of the two places, Recovery International, is like, okay, well, why would Autistics be going to a place that helps people with drug addiction, drug and alcohol abuse, for this training? And the thing is, the peer support training that they give is general purpose peer support, and it teaches basic techniques to work with people, whether no matter what their struggle is. Okay, and so even so even though no, there is no autistic specific peer support training, but that said, that this peer support training can be, or it's general principles, okay, in dealing with people, dealing with human beings, and understanding human beings. And so and so this is a great way to like I said, to get certification, and also for Autistics to understand the basic principles of who human beings are. Because when we talk about Autistics, in autism, all we spend our time talking about is how we're deficient in all these areas. Well, how do neurotypicals develop in these areas in the first place? Okay, that's the whole thing. Autistics have come to, a lot of autistics come to this notion that neurotypicals are born with an innate understanding of how to socialize, and that's garbage. Any professional will tell you that that is garbage, okay? Social skills are developed, and understanding people is a challenge even for neurotypicals. It's not just autistics that have difficulty understanding their fellow human beings. Neurotypicals also have the same problems. That's the reason why they need to go into college for a psychology degree, for a counseling degree, for this degree, for that degree, for all these degrees in order to learn how to work with people, because the fact that this isn't obvious, okay? And human beings need to learn these skills, and some human beings, they don't learn them, okay? And actually most human beings don't actually learn healthy relationship skills, okay? And like well, no, I'm not going to go off into that because that's going to be dealt with in my as I finish off the series of autistic social skills. But bottom line is, that is the reason why I'm really pushing for this for us to gain the peer support counseling certificates, in order that that we can work professionally with fellow autistics, and we can learn to understand human beings from the standpoint of who are human beings, instead of starting off with, okay, you're an autistic, you're deficient in here, and here's what you're supposed to be doing. No, that's not how these peer support training classes are going to be. Okay, these peer support training classes are going to be, okay, this is how human beings are, period. Okay, and the truth about who human beings are, such as the fact that they are not born with an innate understanding of how to socialize with people, okay, and understanding in what's called theory of mind, being able to understand the thought process of another human being that's different from you, okay, that's also going to be involved in these training classes. So there is a dual purpose. Even if you don't want to necessarily work professionally with your fellow autistics, at least it provides you with training. And yes, they're going to be more expensive. It's going to be a bit expensive, but at least it provides you with an understanding of people from the standpoint of, okay, let's talk about human beings rather than let's talk about how defective and deficient autistics are compared to other human beings. That's the difference between what way the autism community deals with social skills and the way these peer support classes are going to be dealing with social skills. So anyways, food for thought, just consider it, and I bid you farewell.